My name is Purvis. I am a trauma-informed Pilates teacher, and I have additional certification in pain reprocessing therapy. I'm someone who's always endeavored to enjoy life, and I've been met with a variety of circumstances that have taught me the value of being healthy and having a strong mind-body connection. I now, through my work, endeavor to use Pilates as a tool and mindfulness techniques to help clients also experience more joy by understanding their inner selves and their movement patterns. It's often difficult for me to summarize what I've been through over the last decade because there have been a great amount of ups and downs. I was injured in a car accident, which left me with severe mobility issues and chronic pain for years. During that time, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer. While I was recovering from both of those and changing professions and re-educating myself, I ended up with severe carpal tunnel and both of my arms weren't working. And from there, my last appointment for that, I was needled in the lung and I experienced a pneumothorax and ended up in ER for 4 days. So those challenges were obviously great, and they happened almost annually for 5 years. But in that, I was able to change careers, enter into a new profession, find a great amount of strength in myself and belief in myself, and I've been able to come out on the other end. While I'm still working through some of the challenges that kind of are left from those health injuries, I feel very determined to never give up and that I'm on a journey of healing and growth. My initial reaction when I was first diagnosed with cancer might be different from what most people expect because I found my tumor on my neck. And I had been thinking about cancer the night before because my sister's friend had been diagnosed with lymphoma. I was also in a process of learning to meditate because I was trying to manage the chronic pain I was suffering from. So I went in the morning to meditate, and immediately my hand went straight to my throat and I felt a lump. And I went, oh my goodness, I think this is cancer. And over the course of a weekend, I was telling my friends who I'd gone camping with that I think I have cancer. And my community was saying, you're the healthiest person we know, how could you possibly have cancer? But it was a very quick process. Within a couple of weeks, I'd had the biopsy and I knew I had cancer. And I think when I actually heard that, I remember thinking, funny, I thought life couldn't get any worse and now I have cancer, which is pretty depressing. And I also remember thinking I created it because I'd been thinking about it the night before. And that led me on a very interesting healing journey. So I would say I was not shocked at the diagnosis, but it was not a diagnosis I wished to receive. Receiving a cancer diagnosis has definitely changed my perspective on life and health. I made a bunch of mistakes in the beginning. I tried to heal naturally without supervision, and I really messed myself up. It got to a point where I was physically, emotionally, and psychologically unstable. And I would say I was at my rock bottom, a place I never want to return to. But that led me to Mexico. And I was very fortunate to have a medical doctor say, maybe the sun will be healing for you. So I found a beautiful place to stay in Mexico. I slept outdoors on a hanging bed, and I decided to go to a yoga center. And this place is known for its healing capacities. I'm not a yogi. I just went there to try to be. And I remember standing in the warrior pose, and it was hatha yoga, so you were holding the poses for quite a long time, and I wasn't even sure physically I'd be able to do it. But during that, we were up on this rocky bluff, the sun was shining in, and they would ask you, who am I? And I think usually one would say, I'm a teacher, I'm a mother, but I had electrical energy shoot through me and a great warmth, and the first response that came through my body was, I'm energy. And after that, it was, I am love. And after that, it was, I am one. And right then, my whole fear, my fear of death dissipated. And I think when I had the cancer diagnosis, I was actually scared of death. I was scared of losing my voice. I was scared of weight gain. I was scared of how would I have children? What impacts would this bring to me? So having this moment where I'm not afraid of death anymore, it also allowed me to see the beauty of life and the beauty to continue pursuing passions and to heal, and to know that I will always be a part of this world. I never set out to be a Pilates teacher. I was interested in helping marginalized communities internationally. But when I moved home to Canada, almost instantly, I was injured in that car accident, and Pilates was the tool to help me rehabilitate. And over the course of a few years, I was able to do Pilates, not just for the car accident, but when I had cancer. I was able to do it despite my arms not working well. I was able to do it when I had a lung collapse. And in fact, I've learned to breathe better than I did before. So Pilates became a tool for me to live a better life. And I realized you can always do something to improve your well-being. And Pilates is an incredible tool for that. So it was only natural that I soon began training to be a teacher and then opened my own business, Purvis Pilates. And getting the additional training in trauma and pain reprocessing therapy has meant that I can work with clients maybe experiencing something similar to myself or different challenges. And I think it's so important to look at the whole body, to look at a person holistically. And the mind and body are both connected in Pilates, and therefore I'm able to help people approach their pain, approach their movement, and approach their lives differently through this practice. I had a fairly difficult time finding healthcare practitioners who believed in me. By the time I had cancer, it was a bit easier, but with the car accident, most people didn't believe I was in pain. And it took about 4 months to find someone. And fortunately, this medical professional was also an acupuncturist and was seeing me weekly by the time I had the cancer diagnosis. And she continued to work with me and see me. I also had, during my cancer diagnosis, a surgeon tell me that he would not operate on me unless I had my entire thyroid removed. And I had been doing a lot of research in Germany and Japan and the US and noticing that not everybody was having their entire thyroid removed. And I was quite determined not to have it fully removed unless the entire thyroid had cancer. So it was incredibly challenging and isolating, but I think I had been learning how to find stillness in my own truth and wisdom, and I knew that I did not want to have it all removed unless it was fully cancerous. So I eventually found a surgeon who honored that request. My medical doctor stood by me. I went to a cancer clinic, Inspire Health, and found a counselor who helped me find joy. And I did find a team. It cost a lot, it took a lot of time, but I found a team and I still work with that team today. If there was a message I was to give to others dealing with trauma and cancer and other health issues, firstly, I would just say I'm really sorry you're going through that, and I would want to honor their emotions and feelings because it's incredibly challenging. And then I would want to offer some simple pieces of advice that I suppose are really pieces of advice I would use for myself. And one would be, I would encourage them to try to build a strong foundation. And part of that foundation would be, firstly, creating a way to slow down in your life and to tune out the noise that comes from societal pressures, from maybe medical personnel, from your judgments on yourself. If you can slow down and tune into your own body, I think it's an incredible way to find your own wisdom and what steps you need to take going forward. I would say from there, community is so valuable and important. And you may not get what you want from everyone in your community, but know that there are people out there willing to help you. And that could be joining a group of people who also have cancer, for instance. It could be online. It could be just really surrounding yourself with practitioners and people that support you. And they support you for you, not out of their own fear and concern, but they let you go on this journey and they support you they're alongside you on this. And I would also say it is really, really important to still find joy. That is the biggest lesson I learned, and it's been something I've often followed too much. I make a lot of time for joy in my life. So for me, that is spending time in nature. If you can't get into the mountains or out on the ocean, find a park, sit in the sun, listen to some birds chirping. There's an absolutely immense amount of beauty in this world, and we need to feel that when we're going through challenging times. So nature is important, movement's important, eating well is important. You don't have to do it every day, but every little thing you can do to create a really strong foundation in your life is going to help you navigate this journey. And hopefully it will be such a strong foundation you have it afterwards as well. I've often been held back from pursuing my dreams due to fear. And the cancer diagnosis was actually a blessing in disguise because it helped me face my fears. With music, for instance, I was scared to share my voice to the world, but the fear of losing my voice altogether, even though it was a small percent, was so great that I ended up recording my music and soon releasing it. Self-advocacy has been quite an important part of my journey, and it's been a very exhausting part of the journey. When you're unwell, it's very hard to constantly see new professionals, speak up to yourself, share your story over and over and over again. It's almost re-traumatizing. So if you can have people help you, that's great. If you can't, I would just say, know that there will be an end. Know that you will get through this. Keep trying. For me, the alternative is sitting back and letting someone else dictate my life. It was not an option. I knew I wanted to be 110% better, and I was determined to get there. Again, it wasn't always smooth, but I encourage you to keep trying. Now that I'm in remission, I can look back on this and perhaps offer a few insights. They are specific to how I would have dealt with this differently myself, but they might be of service to others. So firstly, I would say, don't be too hard on yourself. You might break down. You might not react how you want to react. We are human. This is natural. It is an emotional roller coaster. So give yourself some grace, some patience, and be gentle with yourself. I would also say it's incredibly important to have community around you, people who understand what you need and they let you be you. That's not just family and friends, that could be a greater network of supporters and medical professional. And then I would say start building a strong foundation from which you can tackle whatever you're going through and have that foundation for the future as well. For me, that foundation, it's movement, it's nature, it's eating well, it's taking my supplements, it's seeing a variety of different practitioners to make sure I'm on top of my health. And it's trying to find time to be still. That's my hardest one, but I believe in the stillness you can find your truth. If I'm to speak about long-term goals, I kind of have to speak about the short-term goals because I think I realized that life is short and it's important to live each day with some goals and each year with some goals. So firstly, I'm endeavoring to be joyful and to make sure I have purpose in life. And I find a lot of that through my work. And I'm hoping to build a successful practice where I help people manage chronic pain and work through trauma. I want to continue using movement and mindfulness to do this. And I want to enter into my Master's of Clinical Counseling to also assist with the psychological component and maybe some somatic work. If I was to give my younger self some advice, I might say, don't worry, it will all make sense one day. And in saying that, I can reflect on the work I've done with marginalized communities internationally, the work I've done working for millionaires and billionaires. The goals I have always had are to understand the external world and my internal world. And the highs and lows have allowed me to do that. If I was to give a message to all Canadians, I think I would say, don't take your health for granted. It's very hard to have a good life with health. It does not matter how much money you have, but without your health, you can't have a good quality of life. That might sound a little strong, but it's an opinion I know from personal experience.